The ZANU-PF as a party has a robust process of conducting primary elections in a way to ensure that there is transparency, in a way to ensure that it's methodical, and that there is fairness across all the stages. As you will recall, we invited interested candidates to submit their CVs to their provinces. The provinces met as provincial elections directorates and went through the CVs that were submitted. The instructions were very clear that no one was supposed to be denied, no CV was going to be rejected, all CVs were supposed to be taken on board, and that the provinces themselves, because they are the people on the ground, they know the people, they would consider these CVs in terms of the set guidelines, in terms of the rules and guidelines of the party. And they were supposed to make comments and remarks, more so where they felt that the candidates did not conform to the requirements. That exercise was done, and their submissions were then brought to ZANU-PF head office. The next stage was to subject all these CVs for security vetting. So our security department worked around the clock to carry out the vetting exercise and produced a report on that exercise. At the same time, there was an ad hoc tribunal which also considered complaints coming from provinces. For instance, there were people coming and say, look, my CV was not taken on board, or I was told that I should not submit a CV. So that committee sat and considered all these complaints and also came out with a report. After that, there was then the National Elections Directorate that met again to consider these CVs, to look at the remarks and comments made by the provinces, to look at the security reports, also to look at the report from the ad hoc tribunal on complaints, so that these various reports and pieces of information would then assist the National Elections Directorate to exercise its mind. Therefore, the National Elections Directorate, having considered all these reports, they also made their own remarks and recommendations, which was then the information that was going to be tabled before the Politic Bureau. The thrust in all these exercises was that everyone who meets the criteria must come to the party. We discouraged any member from coming and trying to block any candidates who met the criteria. So this time around, we said everyone who wants to contest must come forward and say, yes, I want to contest, as long as he or she met the criteria that was set. And no one had any right at whatever level to say you are successful or you are not successful, or to say you can't contest me or I shouldn't be contested, and all what people had to do were, depending at whatever level, were to accept all CVs and make their recommendations and remarks. Then, as you are aware, Politic Bureau the Politic Bureau set on Monday the 20th and went through all these reports that I've mentioned, province by province, name by name. And what is also of interest was that a decision was made by the Politic Bureau to accept and recommend former members of the MDC or CCC who have recently come forward as returnees. If you recall, we had a big event at HICC where returnees were welcomed to ZANU-PF, an event officiated by His Excellency. And these returnees were being coordinated by Comrade Chebundo. So they also submitted names of their members who wanted to contest in the primary under a ZANU-PF ticket. A decision was made by the Politic Bureau that any former MDC-CC member willing to contest in the primary for local authority position, for House of Assembly, are free to do so. However, at the moment, it was felt that it is too early to allow them to contest at senatorial level. But it is important that that decision was made to allow former members of MDC, CCC to take part now that they've joined ZANU-PF. So the final stage was the approval by the Politic Bureau of the candidates who had come forward to be considered. So after the approval by Politic Bureau, His Excellency the President and First Secretary of the ruling party ZANU-PF, Comrade Dr. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, directed that primary elections for ZANU-PF this year must be held this Saturday, the 25th of March, 2023. And these elections will be held from 7 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Today, Wednesday, all provinces are holding provincial coordinating committee meetings. Where senior Politburo members from that province are going to announce the names of those candidates who have been successful towards participating at the primary elections. The Politburo members will also be giving in detail the entire process of how the primary elections will be conducted in terms of the polling officers, presiding officers, ballot boxes, ballot papers, the counting, and the display of the results, etc. So all that information will be communicated at the PCC meetings which are being held today throughout the country. The following Politburo members have been assigned or deployed to go and carry out this important task. Bulawayo Province, Comrade Mashaba. Harare Province, Comrade Tawengwa. Manicaland Province, Comrade Patrick Chinamasa. Mashonaland Central, Comrade Kenneth Musani. Mashonaland East, Comrade Mike Bima. Mashonaland West, Comrade Chris Mutsangwa. Masvingo Province, Comrade Matuke. Matebelele North, Comrade Dr. O.M. Mpofu. Matebelele South, Comrade R.M. Ndlovu. And Midlands, Comrade S. Mumbegegwi. These are the senior Politburo members who have been deployed to their respective provinces to go and announce the names of the successful candidates who will go to the primary elections on Saturday. They will also be detailing the entire voting process and give the information to the candidates as well as to those who will assist in making sure that this process is conducted smoothly. The elections, which you will use the recently verified cell registers as the voters' roll, will be conducted at party district centers. And I'm sure you know the difference between the admin district and party districts. And party district centers are these places where they normally meet, where they normally gather for their meetings. A ward can have one or more district centers depending on its size. But these are places where they normally meet. So one hopes these are places that are within reach of where they stay. So these are the places where they will go for voting. There will be various levels of authority to conduct these elections. There is a constituency command center. There is also the admin district command center. And there is also the provincial command center. And finally, there is a national command center which is based at ZANU-PF head office. But as elections are being conducted, normally you also have hitches here and there. You also have people who, for one reason or another, have complaints. Again, this ad hoc special tribunal will be there to receive these complaints and adjudicate on these complaints. So whoever feels he or she has been treated unfairly has every right to lodge a complaint, and these complaints will be attended to well before the results are announced. The results of the elections will be displayed at the polling centers and also conveyed to the admin command center, provincial command center, and eventually to the national command center. And it is only at the national command centers where the results will be announced officially. I would also want to add, and which is probably important for you media people, that no one, and I mean no one, except the National Political Commissar, Comrade Dr. Mike C. Bima, and the Secretary for Information and Publicity, Ambassador Comrade Chris Mutsangwa, shall address or communicate with the media regarding the primary elections, which intend that you must also not approach anybody in ZANU-PF and say, what can you tell us about the results? There are two people who have the authority to communicate with yourselves. That is the National Political Commissar, Comrade Bima, and the Secretary for Information and Publicity, Comrade Mchangwa. Let me take this opportunity really to thank the entire membership of ZANU-PF for the interest that they took in these elections. Initially, we had thought that elections would be held last Saturday, but due to the overwhelming response and the need to go through thoroughly these various stages, we had to postpone it to this Saturday. There's a lot of interest from the young people, from women as usual, but from people from a variety of life. You had artists coming, musicians coming, media people coming, celebrities, and you name them. From all cross-sections of our society. New faces coming and saying, we want to be considered. We want to take part. So I really want to thank all our members for taking a keen interest and also for being patient. And of course, I know the candidates have been running around. Some of them had sort of budgeted their time and resources for a campaign of only 1 week, and then it extended to 2 weeks. So I can imagine, but I think it was also good for, as I understand, in some areas, in the rural areas, the business people were so happy because people would gather and then they would finish all drinks and all sweets and things like that, which is good business for the business people. But again, I would like to thank them for taking part. And more importantly, I also want to thank all the members of our provincial elections directorate for the work that they had to do in a very short space of time. Our national elections directorate, which sat for long hours. Our security department, which had to go all this list of names to do thorough work in terms of vetting. And obviously to thank our leadership for giving our guidance and direction where we need it. And I would like to believe that this spirit of togetherness, this spirit of conducting our affairs in a transparent manner continues. And I'd like to wish the candidates who will be squaring off on Saturday, to wish them well, to wish them success, and then for them to know that there is no loser and there is no winner. It's just an internal exercise, and that this is a necessary step before the final push, as it were, as we move towards the 2023 harmonized general elections, which is really what we are really waiting for. And that ZANU-PF will emerge from these primary elections as a stronger party and raring to go and face the opposition in the 2023 harmonized general elections. I don't have the number now, but I think if you give us a few minutes, we should be able to ascertain that. But we would like to give you an indication. We were about to do that, but you came a bit earlier than before we had put the figures together. Because as you know, these figures keep on changing. There are certain withdrawals. There are others who come even at the 11th hour. And so there have been quite a lot of toing and froing, but we can give you a rough figure of how many people came up and submitted their CVs. But suffice to mention that there were quite a few who didn't make it. And those who didn't make it, it's really because they didn't meet the criteria. There were people sometimes who are very ambitious. For instance, you find that one of the requirements for one to go into to contest as a senator is that one is either you are in the Central Committee or you have been in the Central Committee before. But you would find someone who is really in the party district, you just applying and saying, I want to be a senator. So you had people who were chancing as well. But all in all, the majority, I think in terms of over 96%, I should say, it was the success rate, those who had applied and those who succeeded. So I would say really 97% of the people who had submitted their CVs have been successful to stand in for those positions. In some cases, you have got about 15 people vying for one position, and in others 10, but in others you also 2. And very few cases where you have people who are one and without any contestant, but very, very few.